This meeting is being recorded for posterity's sake. You know what, Matt? We haven't had anybody come back and say, "Hey, asshole, you said this and then this happened," which was one of our fears getting into this, because as traders, we're going to be wrong a lot. And there's one thing on the trading floor, you never really saw that. Nobody had said, "Hey, asshole, how those?" Well, I mean, I might have said that once or twice. How are those tasting?
I mean, everybody's wrong on the trading floor at some point, so they respect each other for their wrongness.
For their wrongness.
Yeah.
Market vitals. We were off last week as Matt enjoyed what he has to enjoy, what he should enjoy, what he did enjoy, and that was time away from the grind of trading. I'm sure he still had his phone app up, yes, Matt, but enjoying it with friends and family back in the great state of Michigan.
Yeah, well, it was multifaceted. It was LA first for 3 or 4 days. Remember, I had a
that's right.
Had a graduation, and then I had Michigan for a week after that. So it was multifaceted, and 3 or 4 locations also. So it was a lot of moving parts, a lot of joy, and a lot of fun. That's all you can ask for. And I only turned on my computer for 20 minutes the entire trip. I brought a laptop and I only turned it. And the only reason I turned it on was one of the flights for one of my kids got canceled.
Walk. Is that what they said? Walk.
And I had to buy a one-way ticket from Bend to Traverse City after that cancellation. That was not fun.
Not fun.
Not fun.
All right, Matt.
But you sell some Moderna calls and that covers it. So you're good.
R.I.P. Bobby Bowden, Florida State head football coach for several decades. When you see the tweets by former players, what a refreshing reminder of how far we've come in this country, especially in college football. When this guy started coaching college football, right, the black-white thing was as stark as could be.
Right.
And from everybody down the line talking about what a great, great guy, a great coach, obviously, from the success he had. You know that because being a Michigan fan, But anyway, my hat goes off to an RIP to Bobby Bowden and his family. And just what a great reminder of human nature and how you grow as people and as a culture and as a community. And he's just a beacon of just beautifulness in life, Bobby Bowden.
Well, and I got to say, I was in attendance at a few Michigan, Florida State battles in the 90s, and probably one of the greatest games that ever happened was the 1991 battle, Bob, and it was Michigan hosting Bobby Bowden 1991. And it was a battle for number one, and it was Florida State. We came out strong, and we ended up losing 51-31. It was our only loss of the year, and I'm telling you, they were phenomenal. I mean, the 2 biggest plays, as it says here, Seminoles ran something Bowden called the crocodile. Casey,
you gotta love a guy.
Right.
At that level, that still's like, listen, and we're going to talk about the punt Ruski, because he's like, listen, we could, line up and man up and kick their ass, but it's even more fun to say, hey, pull their pants down and say, ha, look what you did.
But listen to it. Casey Weldon dropped back to throw and lateraled the ball across the field to Charlie Ward, who then threw back to Weldon. At the same time, the entire offensive line positioned itself in front of Weldon, enabling the quarterback to run 29 yards. That set up a touchdown on a fake field goal. I mean, on top of that, right? Michigan displayed some of its own power, and Desmond Howard was in the game that time. And I think, it was also Desmond versus, what's his name? Dion. So it was phenomenal. Those were phenomenal games. And back in the early 90s, they had the huge shoulder pads.
Remember that?
As you can see in the picture there.
It was like Road Warrior.
Yeah. And I think that's Elvis Gerback right there, who was the quarterback at the time. And Michigan had, at that time, they had like 7 NFL quarterbacks on the squad. So we were good then. We were really good.
Let me share the
both. By the way, since Bowden and Bo and Lloyd Carr have gone. I mean, both programs have gone. So there you go.
Let me share.
Coaching matters.
Let me share.
Coaching matters, Bob.
Coaching matters. It sure does. Let me set this up. Can you see my my pointer?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is it's 4th and whatever, forever. I think under 2 minutes to go in the game, tied with Clemson on their own 20. And get out of here. I got pop-ups that are pissing me off. Anyway, we're gonna roll the tape here. The log snapper is gonna snap it right here to the up back, right? But the key salesmanship is the punter jumping up like the snap is over his head.
Right.
Being a former wing T quarterback, the fake is incredibly important. And I will say, like in the NFL, I don't know who they got at Green Bay, but Favre was incredible at it, and Aaron Rodgers is incredible at the fake. Anyway, watch this. Who does this? Fake punt at your own 20 with less than 2 minutes to go in the game, tied. I mean, you're giving the fucking game away if this doesn't work. Here we go. Oh, over. Bonk.
And who was that? Who was the guy running it? Reese.
Oh, God, he's.
Well, there's a lot of things happening though. They had
because he not only did they snap it to this guy, but then he went and gave it here.
Yeah,
this guy played in the NFL too. I can't remember his name.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, R.I.P. Bobby Bowden. Let's get back to the show. Just incredible. And then he doesn't make it the end zone, but they kick the field goal and win the game.
Because he had the big shoulder pads. If it was today,
this is him. Wow, what's his name? God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway.
They were fun to watch.
All right, Matt. Sticking with sports, because we got a sports theme for Price Discovery. This from 70s Sports, it just doesn't get any better than this. All right, back in the day when NFL refs would signal the end of a quarter by just popping off a fucking round. If you look, the ref 62, the line judge, has got a pistol. They actually brought the starter's pistol onto the field. I just love that. They don't do that anymore. I got to talk to my friend Tony and say, let's make quarter ending great again. I only bring that up to lead into this, and we've talked Penn gaming, right, and bar stools for months and months and months, Matt.
Yep.
We've looked at the stock, but there was two things. There's an article out of Bloomberg today and it was actually an opinion piece talking about the breadth and the amount of gambling that is coming to a phone near you. And this Caesars Sportsbook app has just been being pounded to my eyeballs, right on every feed that I'm on. So sports betting, Penn Gaming, let's face it, Barstool Sports has done a great job capturing eyeballs, especially with the younger generation. And how much of that are they transferring into actual betting dollars? Their stock certainly hasn't performed well lately. But for sure, Matt, the amount of competition coming down the pipeline is staggering. And the amount of money that these people are going to push in promo is also staggering, because it's a great business model, right? They didn't build a city in the desert because a bunch of people win gambling.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Dilution, massive dilution. It just goes along with us hammering. I asked you, I said, well, where can you bet on Caesars Sportsbook? And you're like, I don't know. So I downloaded the app. There's like 7 states, and it's the same states that Penn Gaming, it's Michigan, New Jersey, it's all the states that have legalized and apparently also have opened up so you can bet a Barstool or Penn Gaming, or you can do Caesars, which one do you want, right? So the whole thing, there's a, and again, I think what we've talked about it. I think what you're going to have is you're going to have this, eventually it's going to be, is it a ball or a strike? You want to bet on that. It's 2-1. I mean, it's going to have every.
Well, that was the part of in the Bloomberg opinion article. DraftKings purchased the Golden Nugget.
Yeah.
The Golden Nugget was taken public last year through a SPAC by Tillman Fertitta, an Italian, and a groper. like all you Italians. Anyway, but his other holding is the Houston Rockets. And so the thread of the article, they're going to see a lot more DraftKings offerings on their phone and in their email, and probably during the game.
Right.
What's the quarter line?
Yeah, but the point is, there's only, okay, so it went from, okay, you can't bet to now you can bet on your team or the over under. Now it's every pitch. Now it's, what is it going to be cloudy or will it rain during the game? That's a bet. There's going to be all these crazy prop bets. Like, who cares? Like, honestly, it's just degenerate central, and there's only so much money to go around, and eventually it collapses on itself. Because,
all right, I've said that with the weed stocks, but some of them hit it out of the park. Let's look at least Caesars and Penn Gaming on a price discovery frame of reference.
Sure, we can look at them, and I've got a, I always on some names like this where we haven't really talked about in a while. Let's talk about where it is currently, and it's $25 below its all-time high, which we just saw here in June. And again, we're kind of getting into, like you said, we're 3 weeks from the college season kicking off on the 20, actually shorter than that. It's the 28th, I think, is the first games now. And then the first full weekend is the 4th of September. So, this again, to me, does not look healthy. It's fully rolled over, $25, which is, again, about 30%. I don't want to buy it with your money again, Bob, but I would probably look to sell all rallies, which we're up 7 cents today. It's not much of a rally, but we've been up the last couple of days on all this promotion. Went from 85 up here to 90. So, this is probably the area you should be reloading a short. Nothing has changed. And let's look at DraftKings and let's look at Penn Gaming, because they're the most popular ones. It's holding on. It went down to 40 and it's trading 52. But again, it's got to, it can go up into this pocket of 56, maybe. It's still bullish if you're just looking at the simple daily and it's above the moving out, the point of control of 48. So all those being said, I guess, and then again, the meat of the profile is 40 to 62. So for me, it's ping pong. When it breaks out of that $23 range, you might have a move one way or the other. But I'm not super bullish on DraftKings, Penn Gaming, or Caesars. There's so many, and the consolidation's going to continue, and they're overvalued to begin with. So the consolidations at these levels don't make a lot of sense to me. But again, Penn Gaming, it got crushed again down there to $60, and it's rallied back to 75. But again, it's just hanging, it's just getting back into the meat of the profile, which basically is 64 down to $16. That's where it's still going to go. We've been talking about it. It's just a matter of when, not if. What's going to take?
I think they got their pump from their acquisition of Sports Media and Gaming, an online sports betting company.
And my sons sent me a news thing yesterday that they're in negotiations with the MLB to broadcast some games. And again, so great. You're going to bet on every pitch, striker ball.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think the best part of the business model, and it has always been, is the prop bets.
Yeah.
Right. They just rake the table with the prop bets. It's
because 99%
with money and
of them
against money. They take the rake.
It's 99% loser bets, for sure. It's great. It's a great model for them. But again, there's only so much. It's not your big money. It's not your bread and butter. So, I struggle with if that's your model. Like,
although maybe the bread and butter, is nickel slots. The whole nickel slots idea of, like, if we can get 1 million kids to bet a buck.
Well, and that's probably what it is. I mean, I'm sure, that model works, like you said, extremely well. It's still raking 30% of the, every bet just by turning on the machines, right? I think that's about what it is. 30 cents of every dollar you put into a one-armed bandit goes right to the house immediately.
No, I don't think it's that much. But anyway, that's a discussion for a different day with a regulator. I wonder if the regulator is going to step in and say, because that is actually regulated, how much you can rake.
Right. It is.
All right, Matt, let's move on down the line. And let's get just a tiny bit political. 2 slides. This was from the New York Times. Since we weren't on last week, we would have brought it up last week. But now even in the New York Times, when you see a headline like this, I mean, how else do you go, what? Even if the election was stolen, recalling it will just further divide the country. Hey, sorry, even if the bank was stolen, if you go back and get your money and give it to the people that had it, that's going to make the people that you gave the money to. I mean, it's beyond ridiculousness.
I mean, you can't make this shit up. That's and the thing is, people believe this stuff. They're like, oh yeah, you don't want to divide the country further. It's the Republicans that are dividing it today, even though the Republicans aren't in charge. Okay, that makes no sense. Like the nonsensical piece of all this is just fucked up beyond comprehension. Man,
well, we're gonna get back there in a second. Man, I lost it. Call in the producer because I need to be fired.
What'd you lose, Bobby? What'd you lose?
I was going to bring up the super spreader event from our president's party and how the narrative around that is different than the unsophisticated bikers in Sturgis that are transmitting the virus unsophisticatedly, because sophisticated people don't transfer the virus.
Correct.
I'm just so sick. I have such COVID overload. I don't even know where to go from it. So let's just talk prices, because I completely lost that. The last
it was a funny one, but it's okay.
There it is. Look at that. Because now in Martha Vineyard, where the gala was, by the way, at sea level, a breakout of 48 new cases of COVID, 25 were vaccinated, 54% of all cases, lots of threads disintegrating. And if I would say one thing, I would say get out there and exercise your ass off. Make sure that you are fully vitamined up. Do nasal rinses. Nasal rinses. Vitamin D, really important.
Sun.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Well, my favorite one, and you just brought it up, my favorite little piece from this, I don't know if you saw this headline, like you said, they are at sea level for the party that apparently is still going on 3 or 4 days later. But this headline just said it all. So.
Oh, ambiguity. And by the way, I am all for clean environment. Please don't put me in that category.
By the way, more satire is needed. More.
Let's make satire great. Sarcasm great again.
I mean,
all right, Matt. Speaking of the climate thing, because this is what was a big push, and we get to talk price discovery. These are my favorite things, to talk about something that actually has price discovery around it, because I'd rather not listen to me. I'd rather just look at the price.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is safety concerns raised over Impossible Burger GMO fake meat ingredient. And the ingredient isn't fake. Actually, it comes from the root of the soybean plant, something that humans have never eaten. And I don't know how they extract it or what chemical processes they need, but it's called soy legoglobulin or something like that, Matt. And it makes meat. Of course, they must have.
Does that sound, Bob? It sounds so good.
It doesn't it, because then it's not red, I don't believe, so they have to add red food coloring. It reminds me of my friend Pat. Whenever we go out to dinner, we'd say, Pat, you should get this halibut. It's awesome. It's fish. It tastes just like chicken. And he would always say, well, then I'll just get the chicken. Like, I don't like fish.
Plus, he'll save himself $20.
Exactly. Why are they making meat that tastes like, or something that tastes like meat that's not meat? Especially now, this one showing concerns in laboratory rats for anemia and kidney disease. And the other irony thing, Matt, is Europe. These companies are having a much harder time getting this to pass the European Union safety protocols in order to launch in Europe. Anyway, I know Beyond Meat has a chart and is tradable. There is with money and against money with Beyond Bullshit. Let's go to the chart.
Well, it's this is a daily chart, and it's going back to its heyday of coming public, and it peaked back here in July of 19. Really, not much has been going on here. It's sitting right in balance. So pretty much the most traded price is where we're at, which is about 135. We're trading 127, down a couple bucks again today. The shorter term charts have not, they kind of bounced up here to 134. As you said, this week there must have been news coming, or they knew this news was coming, so that's why it ran into it and it sold off today. So I don't, I have no interest. I don't even want to try this stuff. Like a couple of my boys have, and I'm like, ugh, no way. Like, just the idea of some lab meat. I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances with rat turds in my beef.
Although, Matt, in the age of ambiguity, you shared a picture of the famous Coney dog in Detroit.
There's a lot of process. There's
very much naturally.
Hey, but there's a lot of it's what the number one ingredient is on the chili that you put on your dog?
Tell me.
Beef heart.
Really?
Yeah.
Beef heart chili. God,
So
got to be able to get that for dirt cheap. Nobody's eating heart.
That's what I'm saying. So it's made of the shit that nobody wants to eat, and damn, does it taste good when you mix it in with some beans and some onions.
But back to that chart, Matt, because you read a headline and you go look at a chart, and from a profile perspective, it's a coin flip. It's real easy.
Yeah, it is a coin flip. And if you look at, again, the short-term chart, it just had its blow off. Most likely going to come back here to 122, it looks like to me. It's at the top of the short-term profiles right here. This is a couple weeks. Had their earnings, which set it off in motion, and now coming back to reality. So again, the long-term chart doesn't flip a coin, like you said. So maybe you want to buy a straddle or sell a strangle. I don't know. I mean, there's a couple things you can do there just to kind of capture the ping pong of it going. I mean, you can see it right in here. I mean, really, since May of 20, we've had spikes, but it's not going up and it's not going down.
There've been fake breakouts.
A lot of fakes.
A lot of fakes. A lot of
one day fakes do not make trends, by the way. So,
all right, Matt. We talked several weeks ago. Back to the what's the word I'm looking for?
I know. Give me a little bit more.
I'm looking for honesty and transparency, Matt. I talked pound euro spread, taking the U.S. dollar out of the equation. You've been a big dollar bull, and I've said that I think in some instances there's more alpha in taking the dollar out of it and just looking at some of these other currency crosses. And this is one that I am sticking to and with. Although I got to tell you, the way this day is shaking out in the week, I really don't want to see them close on the ass here. It'll put a pretty good doji candle on the daily. And I'm talking Great British Pound against the euro currency. We talked about it several weeks ago. You thought this was just the high end of the range and it was going to retrace, and it actually did. You could actually make money both ways on this. But for me, it looks like it's broken out here, and I want to stay with this as long as possible. You want to bring it up?
Sure, I can bring it up. Yeah, we talked about it about a month ago, end of July, and it did top. I mean, at that point, it topped at 117.60, went back down into the profile here, and this is where you bought it. Back into the point of control, and it has expanded from there to a new move on this move. And again, it's getting late though. Look at the longer time frames; it's making new highs. But again, you start getting into the longer time frames, you got some room still. And we talked about this back then. So yeah, you could get up here still to 120, but when you get in, this is the beauty of multiple time frame views. Like, you shouldn't be super bullish and you shouldn't be super bearish. It's just kind of, if you're in this time frame, you wait for it to kind of get back to that area up in here, 120, and you sell it again. But not much has changed here for, this is 6-7 years now, Bob. So
no, I love that look because as you, for me, you have to fractal in and fractal out on both risk and reward. And reward, more importantly for me, it's like, yeah, I want to keep it running, But if we get up into that 120 area, we say it all the time, bears make money, right? Bulls make money and pigs get slaughtered. If you do not take profit, you're not doing it right. That's all there is to it.
Right. And here it is, here's a shorter term, 610. So it's getting out here. It might make a quick run up here. But again, I wouldn't put all my bank on that if I was long, if I hadn't been long already. In other words, it's kind of,
Oh, for sure. It's late to be joining the fray.
You wanted to buy it probably when it was, finally breaking out in here, really for me, which was whatever, $1.10 long time ago. That was last January, in January. That was the buy for me. But again, this would be, I only look at currencies much on for me, a lot of people like them on the short term. I like them on longer term because the trends in longer term currency trades are very good. You can get on them and ride them for a long time. And this is
exactly
an example of it, from 110 to 118. That's a huge move. But that took the last 7-8 months too. So it's not new. It's not a new rally when you look at it from that perspective. It's matter of fact, it's getting a little old if you compare it to other rallies like that when, from August here of 19 to, December of 19, that took 5 months. So this one, it's a second leg, but it's not really exploding here either. And it's also contained by what has been here in the past, which has been sellers. So that's kind of how I see it. The other thing that I think is interesting recently is interest rates and bonds. Bonds have been getting schmeezed. And since we're coming back, we can talk about that a little bit. But, the bonds, let's just look at the ZB today. And we could look, at the Ultra also. And this is again a 610. So you can't see the schmeeze that's been happening. But let's pull back to a short-term chart. And again, we kind of double topped last week at 167. Matter of fact, I was happy to sell some last week. And I took a lot of it off here at 164, and I'm still riding some down here. And you really have to respect this range that we're in now, which is really, again, kind of this 163. If it holds, has kind of been holding. It held in here for a long time before it tested that 167.
Bring it up. We don't see it.
Oh, you don't see it. I'm sorry.
No.
So I was buying the 163 on the pullback from here multiple times, and then it finally tagged at 167 again, and now it's rolled over. So any closes here below 163 is probably going to lead you back to 161 as you look in the time frames here as we fractal out. And again, potentially this thing can easily go back to kind of where it broke out from, which was 159. That would be a good test. And again, this is an ugly chart to me. This is in the longer time frames, the bonds don't look bullish to me. All they are is bouncing. This was a serious trend. It's working really hard to get back up in here. And I think a lot of it has to do with, the infrastructure stuff, policies and the crazy policies that are going on, the Fed continuing to print money. Inflation is rampant. We need higher interest rates, for God's sake. I mean, we do. If we don't, this thing's going to it's fully out of control. I mean, I saw it, traveling, just buying food at a marginal restaurant, right? It was costing me $25 a head to go get a freaking burger in Michigan. I mean, it's insane what the prices are doing in some of these places now. And so people are going to stop going out, and it's going to crush the small economy. And it's already, and the little guys already being hurt by the fact that they can't hire anybody. I saw it today, Bob. When I went out again for coffee and I saw, Mountain High, Cascade Heating and Cooling. You go right by it there on Neff. Huge sign. We're hiring all positions. These guys, and again, they have work. They have demand demand for their air conditioners that are broken. Their heating season's coming in, and they can't meet the demand. What a freaking nightmare it is for a small business that's trying to sustain and expand. It's horrible right now out there. So I think some of these policies are going to come to roost here soon. If there's any type of local mandates that start happening, I'm telling you, a small business is going to get crushed. And I think, a lot of that's showing up now in the bonds. Like we do have to start seeing higher interest rates. Like we can't continue this. It is, even though it's going to be a one and done type thing, raise them a quarter, and I think that's going to happen probably here in the fall. There's even been some Fed heads talking about it. So look for that to happen. And this is maybe the start of, showing that, we're going to have much lower prices in bonds because they should not be higher. Interest rates need to be higher, not bond prices higher.
Hey, Matt, I saw my notes here that I wanted to, and I'm sorry for the lack of clarity and segueing, because along with Beyond, I wanted to point out other food companies, i.e., Cargill, not a publicly traded company, right? But
Yeah.
we share inside the network record profits for them, blowing the doors off. And the other one I'm looking now this week here, Tyson Foods. Exploding this week.
Yeah.
So
Saw
when
that
you see
yesterday.
when you look at the Beyond Meat chart and it's just flatlined in the middle, and then you see some of these other food companies, it's food for thought, no pun intended, that there's probably better places from a money making point of view than Beyond Meat.
Yeah, and Tyson, you brought up, it had actually been selling off after it rallied significantly again from last March up to the point of control. But it's also it had sold off, Bob, and it's just coming back into here. So I
Yes.
would again, I won't be bullish these because again,
Well, I mean, this one gets real interesting macro wise because how much of and they've talked about their input costs and how high they
right.
have gotten, and how much of that can you pass it on?
You
And I
can't
agree.
pass it all. You can't pass it all on, and that's the problem. And you can only reduce the sizes and do so much before the kitty's out of the bag. And yeah, I think food is a hard enough business to make money in, and yeah, they've had great runs here, which is probably a means to lighten up a little bit because whether it's
Listen, man,
supply issue.
I was at a nice restaurant here in Bend, a nice restaurant, and they wanted $22 for the fish and chips, 25 for the burger, and 57 for a mediocre steak. 57 bucks for it's not a great steak. I've
Right.
had it. I had it lots of times, right, when it was 32 bucks. And I thought, you know what, for 32 bucks, I could do 4 times better than that at home.
Right.
The little reverse sear. But now 50 fucking $3. It's listen, I don't know where things are going, but they ain't going in the right direction as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
All right, man, let's talk cryptography quickly. The Senate passing an infrastructure bill minus the amendments that the crypto community wanted. Yet all the way through, Matt, Bitcoin just continued to rally. And I don't know what to make of that personally. It's almost like you want to talk about ambiguity. I don't think there's anything more ambiguous about Bitcoin. A guy like Taleb, right, who we both respect incredibly, and says it's worth zero, and puts forth the Bitcoin black paper. And one of his things when you read the black paper, and I actually did read most of it, was like, there's just not mass scale adoption yet. And so, yeah, it's great technology. And he's a mathematician and understands the technology, right? He's like, but if everybody ain't going to use it, what's the difference? That's on one hand, right? Yet, you can transfer millions of dollars of value to be long it or short it at a very high price right now. And the market is not saying right now, I'm not saying it doesn't go to zero.
One of the things I was thinking about on my time off and away from the markets was just this, like what could flip the script. And I came up with a good analysis, or a good analogy rather, for a comparison. Like the metric system's great, but we don't use it here in the United States, and we're never going to use it. And why would we use Bitcoin when we have so many other better ways to spend our money? Whether it's the US dollar, whether it's the euro, whether it's gold, again, and I don't think those are great ways to spend your money, but they're still more liquid than Bitcoin. So I just don't, at this juncture, I don't see it, Bob. And the chart to me nothing's changed. We talked about, hey, I could see a rally to 47,000. Why? Well, here it is, because that's where we broke down from. And we rallied right to it, right on the day of them announcing that, this didn't pass through the infrastructure bill. We have sold off, matter of fact. We peaked, right around, 5 o'clock yesterday. So it sold off. It banged on the news to the number. You can't make the stuff up, and now it's rolling back over. So you better get the Twinkle Toes twins to start pumping it again, because
it really looks like a giant bracket.
And they were pumping it right here at 45 before it went to 46. I'm like, okay, the top's in again. Those fuckers, every time they talk, it's done. So they're like the biggest. They're the cooler for me when it comes to this
mush.
stuff. Yeah, they're the mush.
The mush.
I love them because they don't know anything about trading, and they just collect. They're just the house. So I mean, when you understand, it's like listening to a realtor tell you that it's always a good time to buy. I mean, it's because they need you to sell so they get paid.
Well, Matt, defenses win championships.
They do.
Because they do. All right. I think that's just about it. Welcome back. Fantastic.
So congratulations to the Bitcoin bulls who bought 29,000, the few that did, and now we're back to, make sure.
Well, here's my thought too. Because I have the same level. 47,000 is up momentum on the weekly, and it's got a negative slope to it, so it should be physical, and it was physical, that area.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking profits at some of these longer term time frames, again,
you just had a 50% move, 29,000 to 47. It's more than 50%. I mean, don't be greedy. And that happened in 2 weeks, Bob. 2 weeks.
That also portends that
and I can tell you,
move is available.
Talib will have penny options that one day will be worth a lot of money when Bitcoin goes from 46,000 to 20,000 overnight, and it will happen.
Right on.
And that's how he made his living, by the way. So I'm going to go with the guy who bought a lot of options, bought a shit pile of options. Most of them go to zero, but the ones that paid for him made his whole career, and that's all he does. So he plays the skew, and he's going to get it. He's going to be right. He's going to be right. So you can argue all you want semantics with the man. He's intelligent. He knows what he's doing. And it's all about the bet. And I assure you, he's buying options, put options on this stuff that one day you'll hear he made another $1 billion. So there you'll hear. He's made billions already. So you want to go against that type of mind? Go for it.
I do not like arguing with.
And I didn't know he was anti-Bitcoin until this trip. It wasn't something that I even followed with him. So I'm glad to be in the same camp as one of my heroes, Nassim Taleb.
All right, pal. You have a great day. It'll be exciting to get back out on the tennis court and whoop your ass. Anyway, please join us at marketvitals.io. Please share, retweet, restream, copy, paste, steal. We don't care. This is an open source segment, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Have a great day.
Right on.